De regreso aquí en Auto 060 en Cristina Radio Network, en esta edición especial que estamos dedicando por completo al lanzamiento de los nuevos BMW M3 y M4 que se realizó en la pista Road America, ahí a las afueras de Milwaukee, y fue elegida precisamente por lo exigente que es, porque es una pista muy técnica, con elevación de terreno, con muchas curvas muy prolongadas que le exigen lo máximo al auto y por supuesto a las llantas. Y para hablar precisamente de las llantas vamos a hablar con Oscar Pereda, un ingeniero que es el director de las llantas de alto desempeño para la firma Michellin aquí en Estados Unidos, y que nos va a explicar no solamente el trabajo que se realizó para desarrollar este tipo de neumáticos para estos dos autos en específico, sino también algunos consejos muy interesantes que se pueden aplicar para sacarle el mejor provecho a cualquier tipo de llantas. Así que aquí está la entrevista con Oscar Pereda de Michellin North America.
Well, Oscar, thank you very much for spending some time here at the Road America with us. So you're with Michelin, and you put like the next, the extra step in these beautiful cars to perform even better, huh?
Well, we like to think of it as not only the extra, but the last step. Everything, all the wonderful work that BMW M does has to go through the tires before it gets to the ground.
I understand that there was quite some work to develop these tires specifically for these cars.
I would say it was very, very, very challenging work. We had to meet at over, at 5 different racetracks around the world, and it required over 9 different test sessions. And required over 3,800 tires.
Wow, so a lot of miles, huh?
A lot of miles, a lot of hard work, very demanding customer, but in the end, that's what's required to make a historic car.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the M3, every single M3 has been a historic benchmark in the history of sports cars.
Yeah, and as we talked to other people here at this event, these cars were, the original idea of this car was to compete. And then it also had to be like a daily driver. So what kind of challenge is that for a tire company?
Well, today, the car that you're driving today, the M3s and M4s, if you take a look at the statistics of the performance of these cars, those are race car level statistics. Yeah. This has the horsepower, the torque of a race car, capable of doing the speeds of a race car, the structural rigidity of a race car. These are street cars that today on this racetrack can hit over 140 miles an hour in 3 different parts of this racetrack.
Yeah.
And this is the same car that you can take your family, your children to school and drive to work every day. Yeah. That is incredible.
It is incredible. And also incredible that the technology that goes in tires nowadays. Can you talk a little bit of how are tires made now, and why it's so important for people to pay attention to the tires?
Well, first of all, just in general, when the car that has well over 400 horsepower has a mountain of torque, it's really punishing on the tires. So you definitely, regardless of the brand, you're going to have to put a pretty serious tire underneath a car like this just to stand up to what this car can deliver. Then you have to look at what's the reason you buy a car like this.
Yeah.
This is part of emotion. You're buying this car for the pleasure that it gives you in driving it. And if you don't put the right tire on this car, you're actually compromising that fun that you're going to have for the car. The whole reason for you buying the car is compromised if you don't buy the right tire. And then more specifically to what we're doing, we went to 5 different racetracks, 9 different times.
Can you mention those 5 racetracks?
I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay. But around the world,
but predominantly in Europe and North America.
Okay.
And when you do that, you expose every single possible challenge that these tires are going to see and that this car is going to see. And we engineer something into the tires to address each one of those. So there's no way that you can get a tire to work better on this car than after having done that exercise over a 2-year period. So that you just have to ask yourself, is it reasonable to expect another tire that hasn't been developed at 5 different racetracks over 9 different sessions to be able to match that? So that in some ways, you would say we have an unfair advantage in that regard. But
well, you put the work in it.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's an unfair advantage in the end, but the reason we're there to begin with is that we've worked really hard and earned the respect of BMW M to come to us to develop the tires for them.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution of the tire? I mean, this car started like late 80s, and like there were like Michelin tires back then, I guess.
Well, I'm very glad that you asked that question, because the history of the M3 actually tells the history of the modern Michelin pilot tires.
Okay.
So here today, BMW was kind enough to bring out one of each of the generation of the M3. Starting with the E30, that's our Michelin SX tire line, Pilot SX tire line. And actually that car evolved from a 15-inch to a 16-inch, and even the 16-inch was also a Michelin. That was called the Pilot SX MXX3, which for some of your older audience, they'll remember that was a pretty famous tire back then. That was followed up by in the E36 with the very first Pilot Sport that we've ever made. After that came the Pilot Sport 2 for the next two generations of the M3, and now with the car that is here today, it's the new Pilot Super Sport. So really, that's the modern history since the 1980s of Michelin Pilot tires.
Yeah. And a lot has changed, I guess, huh? I mean, like a lot of new engineering, new design, new technology, new materials, I guess.
Well, everything, just starting from even the sizing. I mean, we're talking about 205, 55, 15-inch tires and 16-inch tires, going now to 19, 18, and 19-inch tires. We started with square fitment, and you look at it today with split different sizes, front and rear. In terms of content of the tire, we're using aramid fibers to control the shape of the tire today that really didn't exist in a tire application back then. Yeah. So we're able to better control the shape of the tire at super high speeds with these aramid fibers. It's called a Twiron belt or Twiron wrap that we do on the tire to control the shape of the tire at high speeds. Those are just materials that weren't available to us back then. The compounds also evolved with new elastomers that have been developed over the years that allow the tire to take incredible amount of abuse. I mean, the tire that we have today, just over the previous Pilot Sport 2, the Pilot Super Sport, has somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 to 30% better track wear than its predecessor, and a lot of that has to do with the compound evolution with these new elastomers.
Yeah. So obviously, if you buy this car with these tires, and you're gonna put some wear and tear on them, and like, so what's the recommendations for people to use and maintain them, and like try to get the best out of them?
Well, one of the simplest things to do is just tire pressure.
People don't get it.
I don't understand.
How many times have you said that in your career?
And I'll probably continue to. That is the single biggest thing that people can do is maintain proper air pressure on the tire. The tires will last longer, and your joy of the car will be extended. The level of effort that the BMW engineers put into the development of this car and the effort that our engineers put into the development of the tires really is a matter of fine-tuning. That air pressure designation on the car is not it's not a casual number. A tremendous amount of effort went into fine-tuning everything so that at that pressure this car is perfect. And it's kind of silly. Something that's virtually free that we can all do. Why let that go by and diminish the pleasure that this car
and
can
nowadays, most cars have monitors, pressure monitors on the panel in front, so you can really pay attention to that. Huh?
Exactly.
So, Oscar, Michelin here in the United States, I mean, it's a company that's all over the place, but where are you based?
Well, our headquarters for North America are in Greenville, South Carolina.
And that's for a reason, huh?
Pardon
Because that's for a reason, because there's a lot of manufacturing going on around there, huh?
Well, we're actually pretty proud that we were the first to be in that area.
All right.
We like to feel that
you brought them in.
We brought them in. We now BMW is now our neighbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, just literally 2 exits on the highway away from where we're located. But we were there first, and it's a wonderful place, and we invite people to come by. There's also from BMW has a wonderful museum there that I strongly recommend people enjoy.
So what for you? What is the most fun part? Like the development is the project, working those 2 years and making every experiment and like testing and all that, or like scenes here on the track, the final product.
First of all, I'm lucky. I'm not the engineer that developed the tires, and I know the engineers that do, and it's really grueling work.
Yeah,
it's a very stressful job because you have a customer that first of all has extremely high standards, and secondly, they know that they are under pressure. Every single M3 has been a historic car, so the pressure that they're on, we share that pressure. But I can tell you that the engineers that work on this project, as difficult as the project is, and as much stress as they have endured, once this car is released on the market, they're extremely proud of the role that they played in these cars. So I'd say usually when you're really fighting hard to accomplish something, to reach a new goal, it's afterwards when you've achieved it and you can look back at it and that's when you can enjoy it.
We made it, yeah.
So being here today, I'm very proud and feel very fortunate to be the representative of Michellin, talking about this history and being present. This is, we have to realize that this is over a 30-year effort to be here today.
I know.
Over 30 years
Amazing,
ago,
yeah.
we started working together on the racetrack. We share a Formula One championship in the early 80s together. We have won multiple times at 24 Hours of Le Mans together. We've won at 24 Hours of Nürburgring together. So this is a tremendous investment, and both of our companies working together on the racetrack, and it's led to magic on the street with these cars, and it's really an honor and as an enthusiast, an exciting time to be here and see the realization of this history playing out into this car today.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time and information. Is there a website or something where audience can look for more information about Michellin?
MichelinMan.com.
MichelinMan.com. Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Oscar.
Thank
We're going
you.
to keep enjoying your car.
Este programa fue una producción de National Latino Broadcasting.